Hi, my name is Jeff Wilson. I'm the president of the Seattle Quake Rugby Football Club, and I wanted to take a couple minutes to talk about my coming out experience and how I grew up. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in South Detroit, just like in the Journey song, Don't Stop Believin'. And I was actually raised in a blue-collar sort of environment, in a very sports-oriented family. And in that family, I played hockey from the age of 3, and nobody really knew I was gay, even though I figure skated from age 9 until age 14. But the interesting thing, though, there is that I didn't really have a lot of gay role models growing up, so I went through a pretty big identity crisis when I was 18 to 22, trying to understand the feelings that I had related to my sexual orientation, and reconciling that with the fact that I was an athlete, I was a student leader, I was I was kind of the all-American boy, and that didn't reconcile with what back in the in the late '80s, what everybody had expected me to be. So I did whatever I could to be involved in anything and not necessarily deal with my sexuality. And even though I had sex with people growing, through college, I never really had an emotional relationship. I didn't really, make those types of connections until after a pretty big time in my life. And when I was 23 years old, I was student assembly, or I was chief of staff of the University Student Government at Michigan State. So I was Mr. Student Leader, I was Mr. Out There, and I was everything that I was totally in the closet, except for maybe 7 people knowing about me. And I had already made up my mind in my head that I was no longer going to have sex with women because emotionally I was attracted to men. And a guy on a Habitat for Humanity trip that was a student leader on campus as well made a pass at me in a church. And I, wasn't interested in him, so I said no. And it turned into a situation where I turned him down and he wasn't very happy with that sort of scenario. Well, about 3 months later, I ran for student assembly chairperson, which was the top position of the University Student Government at Michigan State. I was the front runner for the job due to the fact that I was currently in the number 2 position. And when I ran, the guy who had made a pass at me had planted people in the audience to ask questions about my sexual orientation. And I was basically given a choice. I could either tell the truth and take the chance of losing, or lie and win. And I basically told the truth and told everybody that I was gay. Well, yeah, that wouldn't seem like a big deal, but at the time, 7 people knew, and basically I told a room of 35 people that weren't really that close to me that, I was gay. And while that's monumental in itself, a woman who was the Communication Arts and Sciences representative did a story on the election where she decided to print on page 3 in the state news, circulation 40,000, that I was gay, and she was outraged that sexual orientation had anything to do with it. Her intentions were great, but what it did to me was it forced me to deal with going from 7 people knowing to 40,007, including most of my closest friends. Now, most people would think that that type of thing would be traumatic, and they'd be right. It caused me to drop out of school. It made me have to take a look at the way that I was operating my life and be true to myself and my integrity. And I spent the next couple of years basically rebuilding who I was. But in reality, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And as tragic as that sounds, it's allowed me to live my life without apology, both as an athlete, as a student leader, as a leader in the gay community, and in every one of my jobs that I've ever had. I'm a pretty successful guy with Microsoft currently, and I have a great career, I have great friends, and I run a great organization that allows a safe place for people who are gay or questioning to be athletic in a non-sexualized environment. And that to me is the most important thing about being able to both lead by example through a life without apology, as well as provide and protect the people who are going through the same sorts of things that I did. So that's my story, and I hope that makes a difference.